The laws don't say you can engage in extortion. And when you simply cut off all funding based on a set of conditions, that's extortion.
Welcome back to America Decides. That was former Harvard University President Larry Summers talking about the Trump administration's acts against the institution. He said he thinks the president's ultimate goal is for universities to, quote, bend the knee. Alan Lightman joins us now. He's a professor of the practice of humanities at MIT. Professor, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. You wrote a piece in The Atlantic, which I have here. I've highlighted many bits of it, about this threat on academic freedom in the wake of some of these administration's actions. And I'm wondering if you could kind of tell us what the overall impact is. What's at stake here?
Well, at stake is the good functioning of colleges and universities in the United States. I think colleges and universities in our country have made America great, and they operate in an atmosphere of academic freedom, which is the ability to discuss and debate ideas without fear of outside censure or outside restrictions, the ability to let the mind wander. And many of the great inventions and innovations in our country have come out of universities and colleges. So that's what's at stake here. When we look at other countries that don't have academic freedom, like China and Russia, we see much less innovation.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned in this piece, the internet came from researchers that developed it at UCLA, Stanford, MIT. The first artificial heart was, developed at the University of Utah. Lithium batteries, the list goes on and on.
Right.
I'm wondering, though, what you make of the administration's argument. They're saying, in part, that this is about protecting the academic freedom of Jewish students, that these higher institutions have become kind of a harbor for anti-Semitism. Do you agree with that? What do you make of that part of the argument?
No, I think that's a guise. That's an excuse to strangle in universities, which often tends to be towards more liberal free thinking. And I believe that using the excuse of anti-Semitism on campus is just a ruse. It's a guise. I don't think that that's the real issue.
If the federal government is providing funding through grants to universities, should they have a say as to what the universities do here? Does that give them any sort of stake in the university?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, the universities and colleges are for the benefit of all of our citizens, just like roads and bridges are. And state and federal government, they provide funding for roads and bridges. They don't tell the engineers exactly how to build those bridges and roads. They leave that to the expertise of the engineers. And so I think that the situation is similar here, that colleges and universities in the U.S. have been operating for a long time now. And we know that academic freedom or freedom from outside interference is very important to the atmosphere and the ethos within universities. So I think we should just let the universities do what they have done well in the past 250 years.
And, universities like Harvard and others have big endowments, but I'm thinking of others that may not have that to fall back on. What can those institutions do if they want to fight back on this?
Well, I think that it's a very serious problem for smaller universities and colleges without large endowments. And I would say that even the universities with large endowments, they do depend a lot upon outside funding. I think we're going to have to see the private sector pick up some of this funding if the federal government cuts off funds. But I think it's a kind of blackmail. I think what's behind this is that the current administration wants to throttle the kinds of ideas and criticism that come out of colleges and universities. But of course, criticism is part of academic freedom. We discuss, we debate, we challenge authority. That's the nature of the ethos and atmosphere in colleges and universities.
Yeah, as you say in the piece, academic freedom is what has made America great. Well, we will continue to follow this, and we really appreciate you coming on to talk about this piece. Alan Lightman, thank you very much.
Thank you, Caitlin.